Okay, let's now get to talk about files or text files. So they can be called just files or they can be called text files, right? You might be wondering, why are we now talking about files yet we are in programming? Check this out. Whenever you start running your program, when you then close it, you will definitely lose all the variables or all the data that you would have created or you accumulated whilst you're running the program. So an alternative to that now is the use of files. They help us to permanently store program data when it is running, so that when we now want to run the code again, we can still be able to get the data that we would have obtained in the previous one. So basically, text files are needed to permanently store program data. Check this out. Every text file or every file is supposed to have an identifier name, right? We always identify text files or files by their name. So the very first thing that you will need to do, the very first line of code that you'll need to do whenever you're writing, codes that include text files is to use the keyword open. So open happens to be the keyword that you use firstly whenever you want to deal with functions. So you say open, then you put again the file name. So just call it the identifier here. So identifier is the name of the file that I want to deal with. Again, you need to mention one last thing, which is the mode, right? Whenever you're opening a file, there are so many things that you can do with a file. You can either write to a file, you can even read from a file or even append the values to a file. So the different modes that you're going to be opening the file, because there are different modes of opening a file, is you now need to specify the mode in which you want to open this file for. It's just like opening a book. If you open a book, do you want to write in the book or do you want to read from the book? That's basically what happens. So when you're opening a file, tell us now, why are you opening this file? Do you want to read from it? Do you want to write from it? Or do you want to append to the file? So in a quickie, let's talk about the part on file modes. When we talk about file modes now, we have 3 of these. One of them is the read mode. When you're opening the file for read, it means that you want to get information from this file, right? So this is used to get data from the file into the program. That's basically what happens. Then number 2 is it might be you want to write to a file. When you're writing to a file now, we are saying that you are wiping off everything that was existing in the file before you started writing. You get the point? So you're erasing everything. Erase everything in the file. Then start writing. Start writing to it. That's basically what happens as far as write is concerned. But what if I don't want to erase everything? I just want to add information on top of the one that was already there. Like us, there is again an opening mode that is called append. So if we open a file in append mode, we don't want to erase everything, but we still want to write. So which means we are going to be adding new content on top of the already existing in the file. Basically, that's what is going to happen. Those are the 3 different modes that we have. It's either we are reading from a file, we are writing to a file, or we are actually appending to a file. So know the mode always So basically, whenever we are reading, we read from an existing file. I think I might need to indicate that now. Whenever I'm reading from an existing file. You don't read from a new file. You read from an existing file. Is the existing file. So the file is already there. But when you're writing to a file now, you're writing to a new file or an old file that needs to be erased, everything. You get the point? Or you're just going to be treating your file as new. Again, when you're appending, you don't append to a file that is not already existing. You append to an existing file. Maybe these are the things that I thought I might just need to indicate them now before we move on. So we are saying that the opening modes, you're saying that you open file, you put the file name here for either read, write, or append. That's basically what we have. So we now need to talk about the part now on if you are reading, how exactly do we read? If you are writing, how exactly do I write the syntax of writing? And even when you are appending, what is the syntax of appending like? So what I will do for that, I hope you have written these summary notes. What I will do because of that, I will go ahead and I will clear this first. After clearing this, then I will then start talking about the part on how do we add. Let's talk about the part of read first. If I want to read to a file, whatever that I'm going to be reading from that file is supposed to be contained in a variable. I hope that makes sense. Everything that I'm reading from a file needs to be in a variable. So let me just declare a variable that is called data from file. Oh, we are doing reading, right? Reading from a file. So first of all, let me just declare. Just want to go ahead and declare a file that is called data from file. Data from file is a string. Check this note. Any variable that is going to be containing information that is going to be read from the file is supposed to come through as a string always, because files, they only contain strings. Even a number is going to be as a string, but once you install in the code, you can do your conversions. Just always know that this variable is always a string. So I will open my file. Let's just say my file runs names.txt. That's the name of my file. So I will open names like this, .txt, names.txt. I want to open this now for the purposes of reading from it. Because I want to read from it. So if I'm now going to be reading from this file, I will use the keyword read file. So if I now say read file, I will have to mention again the name of the file that I'm reading from. So I'm reading from, because this is in the event that you open more than one file. So if you just say read file, the system is going to be confused. Which file am I supposed to be reading from? So you say now names.txt, the file name, then you put a comma, and you then write the data type that is going to be storing the line that you just read. You get what I'm saying? So this is the part that is going to be containing the data that I would have just read from the file. It named names.txt. Oh, it's names, come on. It's names.txt like this. So you see that read file is a keyword that is used to read line by line from a file. So this reads one line at a time. So I might need to give that as a note. So it reads one line at a time. So what I just did here, I just went ahead to store the value of the first sentence. The first sentence of this file has been stored in data from file. If I want to get the second value, I will actually again say read file names.txt, comma, then I put the variable name to be containing the new data. Something like that. I hope the read part has been understood. And one more thing again, always know that whenever you open a file, you need to close it. You need to close the file. And you also need to tell us again the file that you're actually closing, because you might write a code where you open more than one text file. So we need to be knowing now that which text file are you closing by this close file. I hope that did not cause any confusion. So after read now, we also have the part on writing. So if I want to write to a file, let me just use a whole different ink altogether on this one. Let me get in red. So if I say now I want to write to a file. So if I want to write to a file, I'll do the very same thing. Let's say that I want to write my name, right? Let's say I already have a variable that is called my name. In my name, maybe it's containing a variable like true legacy like this. So if true legacy now is being contained in my name, if I want to write this to a file, I will first do the very thing that I do whenever I want to read a book. I'll open the file runs names.txt like this. Then I'm opening it for the purposes that I want to write to it. Take note, whenever you are writing, you are wiping whatever thing that is in the file and you are putting new information. So we're saying we are opening text names.txt for the purposes of what? For the purposes of writing to it. So we'll use again a variable, or we'll use a function or a keyword called write file. Write file. Again, we need the name of the file that you're writing for the same reasons. Names.txt. You're writing to this, comma, then you give us what you are writing to this file. When you're in this sense, I just want to write my name. My name is, after this, my name will be written, will be the only thing that is in the file, names.txt, because we would have wiped everything away. Then the last thing that I will do after writing, after opening any book, I need to be closing it. So I close the file. Renounce zero. The name of my file is called names again .txt. That's basically what I have as far as writing is concerned. The last thing that we're going to be having now is the part on what's this called? Is the part on append. When you're appending, we are saying that we do not want to wipe everything that is already in the file, but we want to add new stuff. So I'll just have another variable like my name again. Let's say it's containing again true intelligence like this. So true intelligence is a name that is contained inside my name. So if I want to add this to the list of the names that are already there, that's when I will then have to do pretty much the very same thing. I will open the file. I will open the file that is called names.txt. Names.txt. We are opening this for the reasons of appending. Appending, we said we are adding to what is already in there. Then the next thing, I'm going to use again the keyword write file, because appending is basically writing as well, but the writing is on top of what is already there. This is the part that is marking that we are adding on the end, not wiping everything first. So we're saying we are writing in names.txt, and what we are writing basically is the value of my name. So at the very end of the day, true intelligence is going to be added to the list of names that are already there. And once I'm done with that, I need to do like what everybody else does. I will close the file, and the file that I will close is called names.txt. That's what we have as far as files are concerned. We have 3 opening modes, and that's how you write them. So you see that these questions to do with files, they do not come straight up, or they do not come only containing this. There are a lot of things that they will actually be containing. So just know that whenever a question is going to be coming through with a file, you need to do these procedures that we have spoken about here. The last but not least thing that I will mention as far as files are concerned is the use of what is a function called end of file. EOF is a function that returns either true or false, right? Depending, when we are reading, we usually use this whenever we are reading from a file. So if I want to print everything that is in a file, I want to print everything that is in a file, I will have to run a loop that as long as I am not at the end of the file. So it will be like while not end of file. As long as I am not yet at the end of the file, because we know end of file returns either true or false. You get the point? So as long as I am not at the end of the file names.txt, I want my tutors to continue doing something. I want a certain code to be running. I want to be displaying the names. So as long as I'm not at the end of the file, just know that EOF produces a true if the code is read, if the last line has been read, then it returns false if we still have more things that we need to be reading from. So just make sure that you know what end of file means, and we'll use it again in our examples to come. Yeah, that's what I have as far as files are concerned. Whenever you open a file, make sure that you are going to close that file. Open a file, make sure you close the file. Open a file, make sure you close the file. Because once you close the file, you lose. Once you do not close the file, you are likely going to be losing unnecessary marks. Yeah, that's what I have as far as files are concerned. If you have any question, feel free to contact me. Bye for now.